Do you want to talk about this first, Mr. Marceau? The news broke just earlier today, or actually late last night, whatever it was. I guess the news broke at a WWE employee meeting at WWE headquarters. Triple H is to headline the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2025. Kind of a bit of a surprising pick. I can't imagine many people were expecting the current COO to be headlining this year's class, but here we are. He wasn't the one that made the call. Apparently, it was Stephanie and Sean and Taker who all surprised him with the announcement yesterday at HQ. But I was a bit surprised that they're putting him in now as a solo, although he is deserving. I just thought they might go with Batista if he was free, or really almost anyone else, even a John Cena who's retiring this year. But thoughts on the news on Triple H headlining this year's Hall of Fame class for WWE?
Yeah, I think it's appropriate. I mean, now that he's running the company, I think if you're going to get it, you might as well just get in now and not delay the inevitable, or maybe get to the point that he's like, oh, like kind of like Vince, like I don't want to be inducted, and kind of just you should just do it now. And I think he's a good headliner. Like you said with Cena, maybe after this year you can induct him next year because this is technically his last year of competition. So going to next year, he can be like the headliner going to New Orleans, and he can reminisce on how he beat Bray Wyatt there 12 years ago. But yeah, I think Triple H is a good headliner. I think it's a good start. Very early announcement. I mean, we're not even February yet. They're making Hall of Fame announcements. So I think that's a good start. Usually it's like last minute they're rushing. So hopefully that's a new technique they take for years coming up, that they kind of highlight those people and give them appropriate time. So, but I think Triple H is a good first name and a good headliner for this year's class.
So what's funny about that is that they actually used to announce inductees, as far at least as when I first started watching in like the late 2000s, early 2010s. I know they used to induct, or rather announce, the headliners in early January, just because tickets would go on sale and they wanted people to buy tickets. Like when Shawn was inducted, I think in 2011, he came out on Raw and was announced as the headliner, I think in January, and they had done that for a couple of years. They moved away from that, like you mentioned. It's been very last minute in recent years. I remember there was like no fucking Hall of Fame class for 2023 until like mid-March. They announced Rey Mysterio. I'm like, well, it took them long enough. And then they kind of busted out all the announcements like almost every day for like 2 weeks straight. And thankfully they're starting earlier this year, which is nice. Obviously a very worthy inductee, WWE Hall of Famer. He is already as part of D-Generation X, but he's going in on his own now. So yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. I tweeted this out yesterday, but the timing is not suspect. I had used that word originally, but I take that back. Questionable might be a better term. Now, I don't fall into this category of people that are bothered by it, but I do have to acknowledge this, though. There's a lot of people that see Triple H being featured on these shows, not in like a significant storyline or taking up a lot of television time, but being on the shows quite a bit when it comes to opening shows and cameos and video packages and stuff like that, and thinking that it's very self-serving is probably the best way to put it. Like I said, I don't really give a shit myself. I don't think this was his call to put himself in. I think that would be a bit too on the nose. But yeah, do you feel that way about Triple H's overexposure, I guess, so to speak, on WWE television, or do you fall in the camp that doesn't really give a shit?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the camp, I just don't care. To me, he's kind of like Dana White at this point. Like, he's kind of the face, he's the booker, he's the promoter. Like, we know that. So, like, he's the face front person that we're going to get. He's in the press conferences. Like you said, he's opening the show when they go on the Netflix, and he's kind of doing, like, he's the face, he's like the public face of the company at this point from a business side. So, like I said, kind of like Dana White, like, he's kind of all over the place in that aspect for UFC. I kind of see Triple H in the same light.
Who do you think inducts him? I think Stephanie and Shawn Michaels have got to be the top two picks.
I would say I would probably say Stephanie. Yeah, I mean Stephanie or Shawn. Probably Shawn. I don't know if I'd love Stephanie introducing him, but I'll go with Shawn.
I mean, he's probably going to pick his wife, I would have to think, but I mean, it is worth noting that Shawn did choose. I don't know how that works. I'm pretty sure they choose people, and then they go with whoever they choose, unless your name is fucking Jerry Lawler. They had gone with someone completely different. They went with William Shatner, actually, back in 2007, but Lawler wanted someone else, and they said no, because he wasn't like a known name in Vince's mind. But anyway, I think Shawn had selected Triple H. It would only be fitting if he selected Shawn Michaels, but if he wants his wife to do it, that's totally fine as well. We'll find out over WrestleMania weekend. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we were making our 2025 predictions, but who else could you see filling out the class for 2025 in WWE as far as women, tag teams, celebrities, stuff like that?
I love how you just put me on the spot of just ripping off random teams. It's a great question. I'm trying to think of like women. I'm trying to think women specifically that aren't in yet, and I mean, I feel like someone like Victoria. I'm kind of surprised she's not in yet.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, I think she's good. Like Jacqueline. Jacqueline's in. Is she not in?
Yeah, I think she went in when we were in school.
Recently,
like
yeah. I feel like she went in last year, or the year before. But I mean, trying to think of older women. Like I said, Victoria's one that just comes to mind. I know for a fact she's definitely not in.
Yeah.
Tag teams. I mean, like you said, it really depends on who they're trying to get, like WWE tag teams or tag teams that are in the wrestling business overall. So, yeah. I mean, Victoria pops out to me. I mean,
they never did induct Bam Bam Bigelow. He's another one.
Yeah, he's not in.
Demolition's another team too. They're not in either.
Demolition, like I said, Batista eventually.
Yeah.
John Cena. I'm trying to think of other people like long ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like
RVD. Is RVD in?
Yes, he went in during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck. See, now I'm thinking of other people. Like you said, Demolition's not in. I mean, the Midnight Express would be great. They're not in the WWE Hall of Fame, and they never worked for the WWE, but that doesn't always matter.
I'm surprised Cornette's not in there as a manager.
Yeah, I mean, not yet at least. So, I'm trying to think who else. It's a great question, though.
Yeah.
Who do you think? I'll ask you. You have like a savant mind, so who do you think?
No, Victoria's a great pick. And if they want to go with someone more recent, like they'll randomly throw in a fucking like Kelly, for example. Like the Bella Twins went in a couple years ago, and I can understand their contributions. We'll talk a little bit about Nikki Bella and the news surrounding her a little bit later on. But everyone that you mentioned, I love the Midnight Express pick. You mentioned Bray Wyatt earlier when you were talking about John Cena, and if they are in New Orleans next year, which I would. It will be. I know they were there in 2014, which you went to. I know they were there in 2018, but it's a great fucking city for a WrestleMania. By that point, it would have been 8 years, I think, of a difference, whereas last time it was 4. So it's twice the amount of time. They could totally put Mania in New Orleans next year. But I mentioned that because I think Bray could go in. You could put in Bray this year. I was surprised they didn't do it last year. And it's not like they're capitalizing on his death. It's more a matter of when than if. I could see Bray Wyatt going in as the posthumous inductee in New Orleans. I feel like that would make sense, but that wouldn't be this year. So I'd really have to think about it. There's definitely a lot of people that Vince would have never inducted that aren't in, like a Rick Martel. He's not in the Hall of Fame. I'm trying to think of like a lot of legends. I feel like they got a lot of the older generation to my knowledge, but is there any other names that come to mind?
I'm striking out on my end, honestly. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think like Attitude Era people. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like the problem is a lot of even like the guys that are like Ruthless Aggression are like they're still wrestling. Is JBL in? He probably is.
Yeah, JBL's in. Yeah.
See, like I'm trying to think of other people, but like it's like Orton who's still wrestling, Cena still wrestling. I mean, I guess they inducted Rey Mysterio, but like,
yeah,
it's so hard to think.
Big Show would go in, but he's in AEW right now.
Yeah, just put Paul White in. Might as well.